On 2nd February 2017, we, from Künker, will be holding our Berlin auction. Our auction catalogue 286 features the Ottar Ertzeid collection, consisting of coins from the Swedish possessions, the second part of which will be liquidated in an eLife premium auction on 7th February 2017. We would like to take this opportunity to tell you something about the time when Sweden was a major power of Europe. On 6th November 1632, Gustavus II Adolphus of Sweden died at the Battle of Lützen. This was a catastrophe for the Protestants. The Lion of the North had achieved first successes for the Protestant cause in the fight against the Catholic Emperor. But Gustavus Adolphus was not only concerned with religion, he was striving for control on the profitable Baltic Sea trade. Naturally, it was even better if he could promote the Protestant faith at the same time. His campaign was triumphant. One city after another opened their gates to him. For the cities, this did not only mean the victory of Protestantism, but they also had to make high contributions in order to enable Gustavus Adolphus to continue his campaign. In 1631, for instance, the Swedish king conquered Würzburg. And ducats like this one are the only thing that is left of the magnificent retablo of the pilgrimage church on Marienberg. The statue of the Virgin Mary, made from pure gold, and the 12 apostles, made out of silver, were melted down in order to mint ducats and thalers. Gustavus Adolphus used them to pay the soldiers who were fighting in his battles. The obverse of the coin shows a portrait of Gustavus Adolphus. The reverse shows the crowned Swedish coat of arms. Above it, the inscription reads, "God with us." The same motto we find on thalers and halbthalers. They have all got a coarse style, which is why it is assumed that they were minted at an irregular mint which accompanied the Swedish king. Similar coins, minted from precious metal once in the possession of the citizens, and often worn from melted church equipment, were made in Augsburg, Erfurt, Mainz, Nuremberg, Fürth, and probably in Strasbourg. But then came the Battle of Lützen, which cost the life of the Lion of the North. His funeral procession became a political statement. Deeply mourned by all Protestants, the embalmed king was brought to Wolgast. Many coins attest to his supporters' consternation about their loss. This double ducat from Erfurt shows wine growing out of a skull, bearing rich fruit. It symbolizes how greatly the king's self-sacrifice was appreciated. In Osnabrück, Gustavus Adolphus was even compared to the Good Shepherd. The reverse of the thaler bears a quote from the Gospel of John. "The Good Shepherd lays down his life for the sheep." This is the most famous strike. It was created on the occasion of his funeral. The die is said to have been cut in Wolgast. The coins were first minted in Stockholm, so they could be handed out to the mourners at the burial. This precious gold piece in the weight of 4 ducats depicts the dead king laying on a bier. His body still puts his enemies to flight. On the reverse, he is crowned by the personifications of justice and religion. Gustavus Adolphus was dead. What now? The king left behind a 6-year-old daughter. But she was supported by Gustavus Adolphus' capable Lord High Chancellor, Axel Oxenstierna. For many years it was he who continued the war in Germany. Little Christina was already of full age when her representatives could finally sign the Peace of Westphalia. Sweden could celebrate. Their kingdom had won big. It had come a lot closer to its goal of ruling the Baltic Sea. Sweden received Hither Pomerania, called today Swedish Pomerania, with Stralsund and Stettin, as well as the city of Wismar. Not to forget the bishopric of Bremen-Verden and Stade by the North Sea. Sweden was at the peak of its power. Naturally, there were coins minted in its possessions. This ducat, for instance, with a portrait of Christina, was minted in the city of Stettin, Pomerania, in 1646. Just like this precious double ducat for Charles X Gustav. The Ertzeid collection features an entire series of rarities which bear the portrait of his son Charles XI. After the Peace of Westphalia, Sweden played a central part in the Baltic Sea trade because its possessions lay strategically favorable, and not only in the German Empire. Since 1561, Sweden had control over Tallinn. This coin with Queen Christina's portrait depicts the old coat of arms of Tallinn with 3 lions on top of each other. In 1581, Sweden conquered the most important trade center at the time, Narva, at the Gulf of Finland. We can see their coat of arms, 2 fish between a sword and a scimitar, surrounded by 3 spheres on this coin. The obverse, with the crowned letter C, stands for King Charles XI. Riga became part of the Swedish Empire in 1621. Riga's coat of arms shows the city gate with a lion looking through the opening. Above it, we can see the crossed keys below a cross and a crown. Elbing surrendered in 1626, but was given back to Poland by Axel Oxenstierna as early as 1635. Charles X Gustav, whose portrait is visible on this 10-ducat piece, conquered the city a second time in 1655. Of course, he had coins minted there. As one would expect, they show the royal portrait on the obverse and the city's coat of arms on the reverse. Elbing stayed an apple of discord, which went back and forth between Polish and Swedish possession. Sweden simply did not want to go without the perfect bridge between their east and their west strong point. On 14th December 1697, Charles XII followed his father to the Swedish throne at the young age of 15. His ambitious contemporaries thought this to be a wonderful moment to take some of the Swedish possessions. Peter the Great would have loved to have Narva, Riga, and Tallinn. Augustus II the Strong, then King of Poland, wanted Elbing. Frederick Wilhelm I of Prussia had cast an eye on Pomerania, and Frederick IV of Denmark would have been very keen to add the bishopric of Bremen-Verden to his duchy of Holstein. Charles XII of Sweden surprised them all. The 15-year-old boy turned out to be an ingenious field commander. This coin is dedicated to his successes in the years 1700 to 1706. It shows a lion that is causing 2 large pillars to sway. The legend reads Concussit utramque, meaning he brought them both down. The 2 pillars are meant to represent Augustus II the Strong, whose power when the coin was minted was already as broken as the pillar on the right, and Peter the Great, who embodies the left still intact pillar. But fate turned. Charles XII lost the Battle of Poltava. Russia conquered Tallinn, Riga, and Elbing. The bishopric of Bremen-Verden went to Hanover with the treaties of Stockholm from 1719. Narva went to Russia with the Treaty of Nystad. When the war, which has gone down in the history as the Great Northern War, ended in 1721, Sweden had lost its impact on the Baltic Sea trade. Pomerania, however, stayed a Swedish possession. Here we can see a very rare double Adolph's door, which was minted in Stralsund in 1759. It depicts the Pomeranian griffin in a belligerent pose. Sweden only gave up Pomerania in 1814. It passed it to Denmark and traded it for Norway, which had been a Danish possession until then. We, from Auction House Künker, are happy to invite you to our Berlin auction 2017. Please do not hesitate to contact us if you have any further questions.